problem here. I mean, what are the protesters looking for? If Congress were to pass a bill tomorrow morning, and it was a racial healing bill of some sort,
hello,
what would the remedy be? What would
hey,
Trump
hi,
do
social media family.
to become the race president? Are there
Being,
solutions that you have in mind that would
whatsoever racist?
So I think you've asked a couple of important
not necessarily being
questions, and if you give me a moment,
whatever walks of life,
unpack what you're saying.
factions of society, or lifestyle
preferences.
preferences.
The ground is really about race and
I mean,
right and justice.
There's a reason or
as
purpose
mentioned.
for that. My
It's
person
about using the enduring
haven't mentioned that
problem,
last.
the historic
I mean,
problem of African Americans in this
after all,
country for other purposes.
they've got to recognize and realize
who don't care, who have other agendas,
people's places
who
and
don't
things.
want to advance democracy,
Been at the wrong
who
place,
don't want to bring
at the wrong time, in the wrong crowd.
And I think that's what the president is addressing.
Been there, done that,
way.
and don't want to do it again.
I think
Anytime too soon enough again.
for the country.
Okay.
Antifa and many of the
Then,
rioters are not people who are committed to what actually George Floyd's family talked about.
Anyway, though,
and
there are certain
let's approach this in a peaceful, non-violent manner.
factions or segments of society,
and that's what I'm trying to say.
for believers
And we can't address it
in
this way. We absolutely.
God,
I'm sorry to intervene here,
some
but
of such
we can't
as
address
I myself
the race problem with those who would
should
seek to
think of it with
take
nice
our
intentions
away from the
to
fundamental
steer
problems
clear
our
of
country. So the president's
being that
talking about
because,
law and order, but it's really not about
they,
with
being
law
of
and
those
order.
otherwise
It's about
among
those who
themselves,
on the backs of African Americans
would become or be a
attempt to
conflict
destroy
of
our country
interest
for purposes that have nothing to do with racial
for
justice.
what
It's a very
we
good point
believe
about that. I
in.
want to bring up, I want to play this because
As,
President Trump kind of praised Minnesota.
in other words,
Governor Tim
Christians,
Walz,
aka
for knocking out
a
looters.
Protestant.
And then he said a lot of the other governors in the country,
Not counting the false
sound like
brethren,
you get your quick reaction on the other side. Listen.
of the likes of religious church hypocrites, wolves in sheep's clothing and snakes in the grass, being as they are, to be
Your thoughts on
considered as being of
I think he's right,
those
but again,
supposed or
it
so-called
doesn't sound
holier
like what
than
he's
thous
actually talking about.
of modern day religious Pharisees and or Sadducees, in the land of the blind and blind man is king. Yes, as they themselves are
in similar ways,
the same of the said in question and of the previous prior mentioned,
be very firm about who he's pointing to.
being of whom are of the likes of the worst of the worstest of unbelievers and unbelievers, being the deceivers who pretend to have become and pretend to be believers in God, as in Christians, aka Protestants. And therefore, they, being of those of whom are among themselves to be popularly considered, be of the likes of the worst of the worstest of closet devil worshippers, being of whom make up the majority of churchgoers, of whatsoever religious denominations, of members and visitors alike, and approves to the pulpits. And I'm sure that there are more than quite that there are those being more than quite a few who agree with me compared to still there are some or such otherwise who would tend to differ or disagree, I would say.
The more precision, I think the more we precision.
Anyway, though,
Dr. Kyron Skinner, it's all very good insight.
so I
Thank
say,
you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
as I try to think of it with a mind's attention to try to backtrack here with reason or purpose of being in, or cycle going with the following to continue from where and when that my person at last left off to finish up as a complete a former line of thought. And in that same sense of the word, so far as concerning the basic intro, as the introduction is concerned, before I were to, from there, speak upon some such matters of the issue at hand, and pardon the pun, none was intended, or none had been meant, and no disrespect is meant to be possibly directed at any past, present, or future sexual assault victims or rape victims, and likewise not against any murder
is this being
victims
handled on
to
the
be possibly
streets?
considered.
From a police perspective, from a former police officer,
Then, nevertheless, anyway, though,
both sides of law enforcement, what it's
getting
like
back to
down in the
some of such
trenches,
other,
and what
as I
these
try to finish
people
up
across the country
before I were
are
to
involved with. Next.
speak upon that being of
During this crisis, millions of Americans
a
lost their jobs,
given argument to be debated with the many different views and
and
opinions
most of us just don't know how to do it.
associated with some or such
By taking
thereof,
time to look after our minds.
be it a controversy or
Headspace
not,
is now free.
and be it a plague upon any given society that has yet to be
Headspace can't fix
resolved if
everything,
it has
but it
not
can help you
been
process today
already
and whatever tomorrow
or
brings.
not.
Be kind to your mind.
A conversation or dialogue,
This was when I noticed how
Uh,
white my son's
a topic of
were and
discussion.
how yellow mine were, and I needed to make a change.
My smile's yellowish
or
or
be,
dingy, and it
I were to
definitely
speak
made me
upon
self-conscious.
a couple, two, or four more,
Magically become
for that matter.
but I can certainly.
But then don't kill the messenger. I'm just here to deliver, and hopefully with that much less usages of experience of profanity, much rather than instead of with that much more. In other words, cuss words to simply say, therefore,
And I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
What makes Smile Actives different
likewise,
is that when
lady
added to any
said,
toothpaste,
as
its
well all the
revolutionary
same, or
polycrystal
whatever. I
technology
said they're speaking
activates,
correct, proper,
transforming
standard
into a
English
powerful
grammar,
microphone
the American
that
dialect,
goes
or some
into the
such qualities and
surface
quantities
to
around
and
me. I
remove
speaking
stains.
the King's English or
Simple
street
way to
slang,
whiten your teeth.
for that matter,
Without
bottom line
stress,
is.
without troubles,
And
without going to the dentist.
likewise,
It was about
hopefully,
time that a product was
if I were to
developed
speak
that you
upon
would be able to do that with
anything,
just brushing.
Look at the
be it
power
a
of Smile
one
Actives
or a
on
couple
years
or a
of
few
food stains, and even
subject
coffee and
matters
wine
or
stains.
topics of
Smile
discussion,
Actives is
however
safe and
said,
effective, and also works
then
on
hopefully it would
veneers,
be
frowns,
less
and
likely
dentures. This
while I
is
myself can or could
after
possibly
using
play the
Smile
part of the
Actives,
devil's advocate
and
as
you
the
can
lesser
really
two
see how
evils,
white my teeth are now.
being that of a prodigal
Spend
son.
hundreds of dollars for whitening treatment
Okay.
at the dentist when you can whiten your teeth at home with Smile Actives for just
And
$19.95. Order in the next
so I
5
say to
minutes
you
and
all,
you'll
being
get
in
a
my
second
social media
Smile Actives
family
Scalp
who are
Whitening Gel
not only
absolutely
of,
free. That's a 50%
you know,
savings. Perfect for travel,
whatsoever
or to share with
races,
family or friends.
if not
Order right now
whatever
and
walks of
let's
life,
make a deal
factions
and
of
include
society,
free
lifestyle
shipping. That's
preferences.
2 for the price of 1. Yours for just
But then,
$19.95.
likewise, being
Smile Actives
the old young
will
alike
take 6
of
shades
both the
whiter
two sexual
guarantee
genders,
or
of
your
males and
money
females
back.
representing the global
And take
community
advantage of this special
within this
deal
post
not
911 era,
available
new
in
millennium,
stores.
apocalyptic day and age,
1-800-717-8803.
where the doomsday clock is now
Go to
at a couple few minutes to midnight, compared on how formerly, previously, or prior to then, it was at a quarter to midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times.
Order must be restored
Then,
immediately.
Show rates to the destruction throughout the nation.
for where I'm at, for a major metropolitan U.S. American city within the Midwest of the USA, it is something like about a half an hour
Everyone gets 5G
after
and
midnight.
no extra cost.
For that of the second day of the 6th month, being of the month of June, and within the year of our Lord and Savior Christ, Messiah, Deliverer, 2020 or 2020.
58 million Latinos.
Anyway, though,
If we all participate in the
now
2020
that
we can
I've
ensure
got
fair
to,
funding for our
no,
schools,
no,
libraries, hospitals,
that
and other public
is just
services.
slight interjection
The
before I
census
could
is
say
safe.
that.
It's
So
confidential,
far,
and our
concerning
community
the
is
basic
counting on us to do
introduction,
our part. We know
basic
who we
intro,
are and how
introduction, or
vibrant
whatever.
our community is. Let's make sure our
If I
nation
were to
knows
get
it
that out of
too.
the way. So I ask you all the question of, how are you all doing? Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay. If not better yet to be said, to be feeling all right. If not best of all to be said, to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed than stressed, or too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, your family and friends, and hopefully me and mine likewise as well, are all the same.
Again, consecutive nights that protesters have been in and around downtown Portland. As we get more on that story, we will bring it to you. Meantime, George Floyd's
Alrighty, and now that I got the preliminaries, you know,
this past week,
thought about Express,
4,100 arrests, but the protests
you know,
are not simmering down everywhere.
off my
Many
chest,
states
out of my
activating the
system.
National Guard to curb violence. And President
Hopefully
Trump
much
has been
better than
threatening
this
to use
ridiculous
military force
nonsense
to
on
protect the White
TV,
House. City after city is
television,
implementing curfews and
as
increasing
well as
their
it could
police
be
presence
possibly
to
expressed
brace for
upon the
another
radio.
rowdy
But
night
then
of looting
you all
and
noticed the
vandalism.
title for this particular social media website address broadcast of mine, you know, as it's making reference to what you had just viewed about some time frame period within the last minute, you know.
Running here, Ted. Do you look
Okay.
across the country and see that the response was better, or are you still worried
Alrighty.
about the lack of response?
Moving right along, as the Brits would say, being of our kissing cousins across the waters of the great Atlantic, for that of a European country or nation being of the mother country of that of our own supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy or whatever I have said.
There was still a lot of looting there,
You know.
and there was certainly quite a few arrests there.
Anyway, though, speaking upon some such matters, that I will speak upon one subject or a couple few, or more than that, but then, like say, for example,
from Fox News was out on the street, and he was
speak
able to
upon
show
this
that most of the streets
in particular, as you know, there has been nationwide riots as a result of developments of a fellow American of a black male individual person having had his life taken from him as a racist redneck white boy dirty cop had murdered or killed him. Say white boy. It wasn't meant to sound, you know, saying like racist and something like that. Any male that misrepresents manhood that's supposed to be an adult male individual person of a male, regardless of race or walk of life, misrepresents manhood for that is some such a given moment in time.
Police working with protesters instead of standing up against them, effective in your view?
Would be considered as a little boy that has to mature, that has to have a lot of time to grow. Like the racist redneck white boy dirty cop and with his fellow racist rednecks, and one of them was an Asian guy, whereas none of the three other police officers or cops or dirty cops had intervened in the black brother's behalf to prevent that one racist redneck white boy dirty cop from taking his life from him. Okay, being of which have resulted in developments, as I was saying before, so I say again, so I paraphrase and not quote exactly, for what has happened, you know, citywide, statewide, and nationwide. Whether or not it has happened worldwide, who can say, you know, whereas some of such our fellow, what you call, of our global citizens could possibly protest and sympathizing with protesters in the USA in due regard in reference to the hate crime inflicted upon an American citizen of a male individual person by protesting in their different European countries or whatever foreign nations against dirty cops who misrepresent police officers otherwise. And it could become developments overseas, whereas, you know, European citizens or citizens of whatever foreign nation could start to protest against dirty cops. You know. But then, nevertheless, that is not what I had meant to discuss. As of the present given moment time, though, it is a subject matter that has to be debated, and as dirty cops should be, you know, like say, or how you say, that is, their actions should be addressed because it is socially unacceptable and criminally illegal. But then that doesn't rule out any violent protesters who misrepresent peaceful protesters or protesters otherwise. And that is what I really want to speak upon as the present given on time, and maybe sometime soon enough in the future, I will, speak upon the likes of the dirty cops in question at still some other time, as more than likely, more than not, I will, But speaking upon some of such others, though, so far the violent protesters moonlighting as looters, well, I would like to say that I hope that your what is it? No, it's not so much as one day, unfortunately. It was like more or less a few days, if not more, of looting, as more than quite a few of you violent protesters had moonlighted as looters, I would think that very few of you violent protesters didn't come off at some given time as looters. Well, I hope that you got all that you wanted of freebies out of whatsoever stores and restaurants, fast food places, because you just couldn't see the forest for the trees. You weren't looking at the big picture. For you see, now there is not so much as to be said. I mean, that would be an understatement. Compared to vice versa, it's not a question of whether or not or whether it could be said. Now there's already, as of the present given on time, not only a food shortage, but a medicine shortage, being that because of what you violent protesters, what y'all are used moonlighting as looters have done, You got no love for your fellow man, or your fellow American citizen and fellow global community citizen. I mean, when it takes more time to try to find any stores or restaurants or fast food places or pharmacies, being of which are open for businesses, then you looters, that is you violent protesters who had moonlighted as looters of all people or persons, y'all or you can't qualify to picture what or complain, because the likes of y'all were part of this problem that has developed now as a result of your looting, as you violent protesters had moonlighted as looters, whereas you would have caused that of a delay in services anyway by violently protesting, whereas mass transits of public transportation systems have suspended services at times, being because of your violent protesting. And then whereas the likes of y'all want to compound the problem by having moonlighted as looters looting. Come on now, y'all don't qualify to complain about the lack of services, being because you all are the cause of what everybody has become subjected to experiencing now. Okay, from government officials or politicians
You can't always stop for a finger snap.
having,
With the Freestyle Libre 14-day system,
you know,
continuous glucose monitor, you don't
made a
have to
request for the National Guard to come into the different cities and states to assist the
no matter where you
police,
are or what you're doing.
to how sometime possibly in the near future, you know, we could hear that martial law is declared, whereas it would from there compound that what's already happening so far as a curfew, a 9 o'clock curfew. Martial law is when it's like an exacerbated case situation like that. Whereas I'm talking about a police state, whereas they would monitor, you know, who's going wherever at what time, and you would have to, you know, present IDs before you try to go anywhere. Otherwise, they will arrest you and take you to jail. Now, the curfew is kind of giving us leniency, but if martial law is concerned, then that's a different story. And if you didn't take care of your business during the day, so far as to try to find wherever there are, you know, stores or restaurants or fast food places or pharmacies being which could possibly serve you and your families, you know, well as anybody else, then that'd be that. But you violent protesters, moonlighting as looters, you all caused this present dilemma, you know. And for the very ones of you that they got your mugs on all them different cameras, it's only a matter of time before, you know, the police come for you, you know, because you committed socially unacceptable and or criminal acts of shoplifting, aka looting, being of which is prohibited by law. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I must admit, at one time or another, I was thinking about, you know, committing the act of looting myself. As that was my second thought, but then I went back with my first thought, being of which is to not attempt to loot any store, you know, as you know, that common sense had come back into my head and said, if you go in that store and take some, I don't care if it's just a mere stick of gum, and get your mug on camera, then you have shoplifted, and that's supposed to carry a felony charge, you know. And when they come, and they will, then you will be one among those persons who law enforcement would be trying to arrest. And I'm glad I didn't go with my second thought, you know. But getting back to you all that had gone about looting, you know, you violent protesters who are, you know, altogether different from us peaceful protesters otherwise. Look what you have caused. Now when your young sibling, children or relatives, and your elderly citizens or relatives be wondering how come it's taking so long for, you know, some of such other relatives to get food and medicine for them, then you're the ones that fought for this here, you know. When your children or young sibling relatives or whatever sort of type be feeling their tummies or stomachs growling for food, or when your young sibling relatives be like feeling sick, and as well, the same can be said of your elderly senior citizen relatives that would be that being because of something on you all's part. See, if your young sibling, relatives, and elderly citizen relatives, are having bouts with feeling quite up under the weather to the extent that they could possibly feel like they're dying, then also that's on you all. If any of them were to literally actually die, then because of you violent protesters having moonlighted as looters, still that would be on you all's part. It would be your fault. You're to blame, See what you have caused?
I'm wondering, because you've been there for so many
And
nights,
because
what are the attributed factors?
you fed into that ill-minded thought, that stinking thinking, to riot in a socially unacceptable and a criminally illegal way, and as well as your moonlighted as looters to get the loot different stores and restaurants, fast food places, and pharmacies. Now we all have got to suffer, being because of you violent protesters looting, whereas that's not helping anybody, and it sure as damn hell is not helping the deceased who had died at the hands of a dirty cop with his partners. You hear what I'm saying? And it's not helping the remaining surviving relatives of loved ones of the deceased. You hear what I'm saying? Whereas you're complicating their grieving process. You hear? Do you literally actually think that the surviving relatives will want to see you a witness, notice or witness, or whatever I've said, you violent protesters protesting? That's not gonna ease their pain, their mental anguish over the death of their loved one. If anything, it's just going to exacerbate their grieving process. The same could be said when the likes of you violent protesters have moonlighted as looters looting. Don't think for a minute as if that's going to, have them, like say, be relieved for how you all are protesting. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At one time, some or such, if not all of them, but then possibly at still another time, maybe all of them be thinking, yeah, that's it, riot, you protesters. I want you all to let these dirty cops feel the rage that me and my family members are feeling as a result of developments of that dirty cop having killed our loved one, being a deceased. But once the light bulb was to come on in their head, and then they reflect on what is, much better for them to think about what's in their better interest than be a conflict of some such, they would say from there, you violent protesters are just as much wrong as the dirty cop that had taken the life of our loved one, being a deceased, or for me and my relatives' own immediate personal family household, and don't be surprised if they were to, if it were to come to mind where they would voice their views and opinions not only citywide, statewide, but nationwide, and say, you violent protesters, you need to quit all this nonsense of violently protesting. Being that because we ourselves don't approve of it, it's not honoring the memory of our loved one, that is not going to solve anything. It just makes matters worse. Okay? You're not honoring the memory of our loved one. You're just exacerbating our grieving process. And we wish that you violent protesters would stop this nonsense. We would much rather that you, behave like the peaceful protesters otherwise, so that from there we could bring it to the attentions of the global community that there has got to be a change. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, anyway, though, getting back to some of such others, as a result of developments of you violent protesters, violently protesting and moonlighting as looters looting, do you know today I was sent upon a wild goose chase looking for some restaurant or fast food place that would be open, to serve the general public or people at large, trying to find one where I would not have to, stand in a long line so much to try to get served, But then some of such was not the case, And a lot of those places and businesses were not only closing early, but a lot of them was already closed by the time I had got there. If not all of some such. You hear what I'm saying? Whereas they were like boarded up, then because of all the looting that you violent protesters had done as you moonlighted as looters. And by the time I found one of the few other places of businesses, being of which serves that food item products to the general public or the people at large, whereas from there the line was long, but it was worth it that I finally found one, whereas from there I could get one of my elderly senior citizen relatives something to eat, and at the same time we reflected on how you violent protesters moonlighting as looters had caused others as well as yourselves a great inconvenience. And I was pissed. Yeah, I mean, I had to, in addition, I had to walk quite a bit. Then because after a while, certain services of a mass transit, of a public transportation system, with all of its many different bus and train routes, had cut off at a given time frame period, And whereas I wish I had thought to ride my bike more than what I did, because I left it somewhere, after I locked it up, and had to, walk back that way to get it, And I was exhausted. I was tired. I was like, and I was thinking about you violent protests and all that shit. Oh wow! See what y'all done. See, So I hope that you all have gotten, I'm saying, all that you wanted out of those stores and etc. As more than quite a few of you, if not all of you, had moonlighted, at some such given moment in time, as looters looting, Yeah, I hope that you all had, that is the ones of you that had moonlight as looters looting. I hope that you all got more than enough freebies to tie you over. And because now there is not only a food shortage, but there's a medicine shortage, you know. You hear what I'm saying? And you better have enough to last out for as long as it may take for, you know, that is some, if not all, of the businesses being which were destroyed, and because you're looting. You better hope that some of such, that some, if not all of such, will be remodeled or repaired in time. If not, new businesses were to be built in place of the old ones. Otherwise, you know, I mean, a lot of people are going to be dying, you know. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be dying, you know. Not only citywide, you know, statewide, but nationwide. A lot of people are going to be dying of whatsoever races, you know, whatever walks of life, factions of society, lifestyle preferences, you know. Being that because of the food and medicine shortages that you violent protesters moonlighting as looters have caused the present given situation. And I wish that my person has stayed with that preppy survivalist training and had not ate up and used some of my surplus item products that I was storing away with. I'm back at square one myself. And then I plan on getting more beans so that I can make sure that I have food, you know. Beans are a must. Beans are some of the first food item products that anybody should think to get, you know, in the event that there could possibly become an even worse case scenario, food and medicine shortages. There is route developments that you violent protesters moonlighting as looters have caused. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all, yes. Yeah, so anyway, though, I had to go all out my way to finally find one of the few, you know, one of the few fast food places and business stores that was open for business, you know. And I was like, thank God for that, you know. Yeah, y'all have really caused your fellow American citizens as well as yourselves some of such problems with the way y'all just had moonlighted as looters. As they take them to jail, they deserve to go to jail. Take them to jail. You can use whatever force is necessary, up to and including deadly force. Yeah. Anyway, though. Did you see any of the police officers? Yeah. Firing on people on these so-called? Yeah. No. Y'all, you better hope that there become more food available for the different soup kitchens and food pantries, being because you violent protesters moonlighting as looters, you messed it up for everybody, including yourselves and your own loved ones or family members. You messed it up for everybody. Yeah. I mean, you're ridiculous, stupid, sick, and crazy, or ignorant, and insane actions did not benefit anybody, not even yourselves. Yeah. So anyway, though, come tomorrow, I have to find out whether or not, you know, I myself personally can still get some of such that I gotta. First of all, I gotta see if I can make it there in time to one of the soup kitchens and food pantries and see whether or not I myself can or could possibly become or be one of the ones that get food before they run out, and because I'm sure that there will be more patrons of this services, more people, persons seeking to eat at these different soup kitchens and food pantries to pick up items to nourish our souls. Yeah. And in view of the circumstances, up under these conditions of a situation that you violent protesters, moonlighting as looters, have caused each and every one of us, violent protesters and or peaceful protesters, we all are affected by violent protesters having moonlight as looters and looting. Yeah. Really now, how ridiculous. But anyway, though, I think I'm just going to wrap this up, you all, and I'll get back with you if and when. You know, you can count on it. If the good Lord be willing. And regardless of whether this were so far the conclusion of this here particular social media website address broadcast, regardless of whether it would come naturally for me to say this here, or even if I have to force myself to say some such and that being. And that is, if you haven't gotten Christ as your own personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now. Remind attention while the blood is still running warm in your veins. By recognizing and realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some sort of Roman soldiers up on the orders of their religious peers, being of Pharisees and Sadducees, but then nevertheless, whereas he had went to that cross of Calvary to become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well, I say, as well as for me. So that if any of us being whatsoever racist and whatever walks of life, fashions of society, lifestyle preferences, being of the old and young alike of both two sexual genders, of males and females, representing the global community within this post-911 era, the new-millennium, apocalyptic day and age, and where the noonday clock is now at a couple of few minutes of midnight, compared on how formerly previously prior to then it was a quarter to midnight for these rather biblically-prophetic times. Word to profess some of such faith in him, from there we become and be blessed in one regard or another, in more ways than one. First and foremost, for his salvation, being of which is the only means by which we can or could possibly hope to get into the kingdom of heaven. And then second of all, with his deliverance. But then first of all, you have got to get not just the much more, but the most important blessing being of his salvation before you can or could possibly get any blessings otherwise. And if you continue to reject so great a salvation, being of the blood sacrifice of our Lord and Savior Christ, the Messiah Deliverer, and do that up until the time you were to leave this world. Whereas once you were to cross on over into the great beyond the hereafter or the afterlife, the final destination would be from there, the lake of fire, damn hell, to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and the demons forever, as in for all eternity. Compared to we being among ourselves of believers, being across the great divide, which separates heaven from hell, would be, beyond the pearly gates and within the kingdom of heaven as citizens thereof, in the presence of God and his angels, without a care in the world, with nothing that we would have to, nothing or nobody that we would have to worry about. And because we being among ourselves will be covered by the blood of the Lamb of God. And because we would have professed faith in him to acquire his salvation, that nobody or nothing else can give unto any of us, being which would, be considered as being equal as well to that he is. And because he's the only one, being of whom can or could possibly, from there, have us acquire the salvation that would you know,
These folks
help us get into the kingdom of heaven. As there's nobody, nothing else that can. For all roads do not lead to heaven. All beliefs, whatever I've said. Hey, you all take care and be safe. Be blessed, not stressed. Peace and love, joy and happiness. Until we meet again, until further notice, and I guess it's a wrap. I'll let you later. We out. Peace.
Go to stamps.com/TV and never go to the post office again.